This is a quick tutorial on how to find a residual demand curve. You need to know this for problem set 3, the problem dealing with, I think, rubies. So let's suppose there's a market with one dominant firm and several small price taking firms. The dominant firm is going to act as a residual monopolist, and these other firms are fringe suppliers. In other words, they're price takers. The dominant firm sets prices, and the fringe suppliers supply at that price up to their marginal costs. The market demand curve is given by QD, market here, of equal to 40 minus 1 half P. The supply curve of the fringe producers is given by QS fringe equals 1/4 P. The dominant firm's marginal cost is given by marginal cost dominant equals 6 plus 2Q. So we can find the residual demand curve faced by the dominant firm by subtracting the fringe supply from the demand for the market demand. So this is what's left over after the fringe supplies. What demand is left over after fringe supply for the dominant firm? So here on the left we have the market demand and the fringe supply. Over here we're going to have the residual demand. So this is D market minus QS fringe. We can figure out what this function is by subtracting the fringe supply 1/4 P from the market demand. So 40 minus 1 half P minus 1/4 P equals 40 minus 3/4 P. So that's this curve right here. And this is the demand curve for the residual monopolist, or this dominant firm we were talking about in the beginning. The dominant firm is a monopolist on its residual demand curve. Here's its residual demand curve again. To maximize profits, we're going to set marginal revenue equal to marginal cost, just like any old monopolist would do, except now we're considering the residual demand and residual marginal revenue, not the aggregate market demand. To find marginal revenue, we need to first find the inverse residual demand curve. So let's flip this thing around. We're going to bring the 3/4 P to one side and the Q to the other side and divide by 3/4. So we get the inverse residual demand, which is P equals 160 over 3 minus 4/3 Q. And then we're going to set marginal revenue, or first let's figure out what marginal revenue is. It's twice as steep as the inverse demand curve. So marginal revenue is equal to 160 over 3 minus 8/3 Q instead of minus 4/3 Q. Now the residual monopolist, or this dominant firm, is going to set marginal revenue equal to marginal cost. So let's do that. Take this equation, marginal revenue, set it equal to marginal cost from the previous page. Solve for Q star equals 10.14. We can plug this value back into the inverse residual demand curve to figure out what P star is. In doing so, we get P star equals 39.81.